Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 9th of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Penzis, would you proceed, please?
Mr. Gill. Here. Ms. O'Connell.
Here.
Ms. Pritchard.
Here.
Mr. Tolles.
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks.
Here.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace.
Here.
And Chair Sharp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Penzis. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When the agenda item is called, you will be given the opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
I so move, Madam Chair. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume that we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Penzis, may I please get a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Yes, ma'am. There is no secretary's report. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes following each speaker. The chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have 3 minutes to rebut under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, enter a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take a final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you again, Mr. Penzis. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today. but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you all to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Mrs. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 16 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individually, please come forward and give us the item number, and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 3, case SUP 2023-039CO in Pinnacle Point. The request is a special use permit to allow a group daycare in the residential family 6 district as part of PD 94-302CC located at 7806 Windy Willow Road. Staff recommendation is to drop. Item number 4, case MJR 2024-012 in East Memphis. The request is for a site plan approval for an indoor storage facility located at 0 Germantown Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 5, case MJR 2024-014CO in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a site plan approval for a maximum of 1,080 lots over the remaining undeveloped portion of the planned development at 4821 Greenside Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and Mr. Saliba will read in some friendly amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. These are friendly amendments that I'm going to read in, are comments that I received yesterday from County Engineering. They need a little wordsmithing on the wording to make them sound more like conditions, but I'm going to read them in, and I will do that if you will allow me to. The existing, number 1 is the existing outline plan conditions predate the Unified Development Code. Recommend plan conditions be cross-referenced with current UDC requirements to ensure compliance. Number 2 is portion of the property is within the floodplain and will require a Shelby County floodplain development permit. Number 3, utilize the most recent version of the City of Memphis and Shelby County Stormwater Drainage Manual for design and analysis of storm drainage and stormwater detention. Number 4, the outline plan shows containment of a natural stream into a continuous concrete line channel. This is contradictory to current practices recommended by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation and is unlikely to be permitted by the state. And the last is item number 5. A trip generation report is required. Based on the results, a traffic impact study may also be requested.
Thank you. Item number 6, case MJR 2024-015 in Cordova. The request is a site plan approval for a hotel located at 0 Market Farms Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 7, case MJR 2024-018 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to allow motor vehicle sales located at 6347 Gillespie Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 8, case Z 2024-004 in Core City. The request is a rezoning of plus or minus 6.2 acres in the employment district to heavy industrial district located at 1351 Williams. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-020 in Core City. The request is a major modification to allow a restaurant with a drive-in located at 1925 Union Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-021CO in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a major modification to revise a Woodland PD phasing plan located at 8556 Shelby Drive. Staff recommendation is hold. Item number 11, case MJR 2024-022 in Cordova. The request is for a site plan approval for a commercial and retail development located at 0 Macon Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-023 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to remove restrictive access along Longline Drive located at 6047 Resources Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case MJR 2024-024 in Cordova. The request is a site plan approval for a new sanitary sewer and wastewater storage tank with related accessory uses at 2100 Appling Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 14, case S 2024-011 in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a 32-lot major subdivision at 1614 North Collierville, Arlington Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 15, case SAC 2024-003 on Jackson. The request is to close and vacate a portion of a paper alley between 3775 Longfellow Road and 3760 Whittier Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 16, case SUP 2024-016 in Fraser. The request is a special use permit to allow lighted athletic fields for the Memphis Business Academy located at 3306 Overton Crossing Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and that is our consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Anyone now wishing to pull a case number from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us that item number. Okay, we have pulled items numbers 1 and 2. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 1 and 2 will have a full independent public hearing. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 3, case SUP 2023-039CO is being dropped. Item number 4, case MJR 2024-012 is a hold. Item number 5, case MJR 2024-014CO with the friendly amendments. Item number 6, case MJR 2024-015. Item number 7, case MJR 2024-018 is a hold. Item number 8, case Z 2024-004. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-020 as a hold. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-021 as a hold. Item number 11, case MJR 2024-022. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-023. Item number 13, case MJR 2024-024. Item number 14, case S 2024-011 as a hold. Item number 15, case SAC 2024-003. And item number 16, case SUP 2024-016.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I hear a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Now we're going to go to Dr. Pritchard, who is the chair of our regular agenda.
Agenda item number 1, MJR 2024-019, airport adjacent. Correspondence to SAC 2023-009. Closure of Conklin Drive from Stonebrook Avenue south approximately 473
please be quiet.
feet.
Sir,
Limits of the existing
Audience.
closure. Staff recommendation is approval with
could everyone in the
condition.
audience please stop talking or leave? We're moving on with a regular agenda. Walk outside if you're going to talk.
Put him in charge.
No problem. I apologize, Chair.
Okay, would you read that again, please, Ms.?
Yes, MJR 2024-019, airport adjacent. Correspondence to SAC 2023-009, closure of Conklin Drive from Stonebrook Avenue south approximately 473 feet to the north limits of the existing closure. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Would the applicant please come up and give us your name and address, and then we will hear the case.
Sure. My name is Doug Dugard. I am Senior Director of Global Facilities for Smith & Nephew, and our address is 1450 East Brooks Road.
Thank you. We're ready to hear the case.
Thank you. Chip Saliba with the Division of Planning and Development. This application, I'm actually going to discuss agenda items 1 and 2, if you'll allow me to, since both of these agenda items are tied together. The first item on the agenda is the closing of Coughlin Drive and a portion of Stonebrook Avenue. And then the second agenda item will be the dedication of some new public street right-of-way to address the impact of the closing that's proposed. This is the location map. This site is the headquarters of Smith Nephew. It's in the Whitehaven area at the intersection of Brooks Road and Interstate 55. As you'll see on the screen, the yellow area indicates the proposed closing that was not included with the previous closing approved by the City Council. The 2 stars indicate the dedication of right-of-way areas that I will discuss in more detail. This is what's transpired. This is a time extension to re-up what the City Council approved in 2016 with some exceptions and modifications to the conditions. On the screen, you'll see that the original closure area was south of this proposed cul-de-sac going down to Brooks Road. That's Coughlin Drive here. The current application would extend the closing of Coughlin Drive from Brooks up to about a point here on Stonebrook Avenue. The improvements here that will be that were proposed in 2016 and approved by the council continue to be part of this application, and that's where the street dedication is required in order to make that improvement happen. Over here, this was going to be a third access point that was approved by the City Council to be constructed. So there would still remain 3 points of access to the development itself. You have Springbrook Avenue here, you would have the new street here, and you would have Sandbrook down to Brooks. This is not in the equation now. The applicant has asked that this be removed as one of the conditions previously approved by City Council. It was worked on for a few years with city engineering involved, and there couldn't be a final agreement among the property owners where the right-of-way was needed to actually make that road work. So the applicant is asking now that that condition be dropped to not have to build that over here. What you have now are 3 points of access to the development, to the industrial park. You have Springbrook Avenue to Elvis Presley Boulevard here, which begins over here. You have Sandbrook Drive, which is north-south road that goes down to the intersection of Brooks Road. And then you have the street called Coughlin Drive that the applicant, Smith Nephew, wishes to close in its entirety now. And since the application, since the staff report was released to y'all, this area here has been added to the closure area. So basically, if you follow my cursor, the closure area would be here going down to Brooks Road. This was the proposed modification to the 2016 council approval that was proposed with this current application. Again, all of Coughlin Drive would be closed now. The original thought was, let's build a cul-de-sac at the end of Stonebrook. And this is the original submittal that came in with the time extension. That's since changed. What was handed out to you by Jeffrey a couple of minutes ago is what you're looking at now. And this is the latest plan that's before you. And the conditions proposed by the Division of Planning and Development that I handed out reflect this plan. I want to be clear on that. So in a nutshell, here's the road being closed here. There will be a hammerhead turnaround provided here. Tri-State Thermo King will now have a gated entrance to their property, whereas that was not originally part of the application. And the road that I previously mentioned that would go over to Elvis Presley Boulevard, the new road from 2016, that red X that I've got there tells you that that has been removed from the conditions at the request of the applicant. So you will end up, if this is approved by you, having this shaded area closed, a hammerhead built here. This road, Sandbrook, where it connects to Brooks, is going to have a somewhat of a quirky curve that currently exists there, straightened out, not straightened out into a 90-degree straight, but improved for truck traffic. So that will be one of the improvements done, as well as some signalization improvements. And then again, the other public street dedication area would be the hammerhead itself here, where a fire truck could come in and have the ability to turn around. That has been looked at by the fire department. The fire department met with all the parties on Monday and at the site, and they think the hammerhead will work. So that's what's shown on the plan now. That's before you to be considered with the conditions that I've attached. There are going to be another set of conditions I'm going to hand out to you that will, in red, be some additional conditions to be added that I think everyone is on board with. Let me go ahead and give those to you now. Jeffrey, let's see. I think I may have left them on the table there. No, they would, no. Let's see. Here they are. Again, this, I just went over what the current proposal is. It's in your packet. These show the more detailed proposed improvements to be done by Smith Nephew. And let me point out that even some of these improvements are off the site of the Smith Nephew campus, but Smith Nephew is paying for those. So here are the two plans side by side. Council 2016 approval on the left and the proposed plan on the right. That's in your packet as well. We are supporting the applicant's revised plan. We do think with the proposed improvements being done, though we are losing one point of access to the industrial park, we think with the improvements being proposed by the applicant, the traffic in the area can still be adequately served. I'll be glad to answer any questions if y'all have any. There is opposition. You'll see at the heel of your staff report several letters from opponents, and I believe Cindy Reeves will be speaking here. She has represented some of the opposition, and the conditions that were just provided in red. Those were generated by Cindy and provided to me yesterday. Be glad to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions of staff at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant to make your 10-minute presentation. And is he making a presentation on 1 and 2 or just on 1? Because he just explained 1 and 2.
Yes, if we could do 1 and 2 together in one presentation.
Okay.
Because if you read the conditions,
you look at the graphics, you can see how everything ties in. Just makes it better to have one discussion on both.
So we have 20 minutes. Okay.
If it's okay, could I defer and let our opposition speak first? Is that all right?
Well, usually.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to give them the floor and let them go ahead and speak, and then I can speak to that as well, so that way I make sure they're heard, and then any conditions that are out there, we'll be able to, I can answer those questions.
Okay,
as
well,
too.
you were going to get to rebut them anyway, but I guess we can go.
Sure, I think it'd be smoother to let them go first, so I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, we're ready for the opposition to bring forth your statement and give us your name and address.
Cindy Reeves, SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200. This has been going on since the 1990s. I know some of you on the board were here when the 2013 case came before you. It took 3 years in order to get that to City Council and to come to an agreement in order to make the closure happen. That did not happen. Things have changed since 2016. I know that it's been very difficult for the members, for the industrial park occupants and owners, and they have worked very hard, and so has Smith and Nephew, to come up with some agreements and some conditions that can make this happen for Smith and Nephew. We're not happy about the closure. We want to go on the record that we're not happy about it, but we know that it's going to happen. And with working with Smith and Nephew, we think that it will be a better, it will make everybody happy as far as Coughlin will get opened if there is an accident or something that closes the Brooks Road access point, which would be their only point of access. The Tri-State Thermal King gate will open, and so will the Smith and Nephew gate, and all that traffic from the industrial park will be able to go out to Brooks onto Coughlin if Brooks and Sandbrook and Stonebrook are blocked. So we appreciate everybody for working together. It's been very, very difficult. I do want you to understand that. But we feel with the new conditions that we've all come up with and we've agreed to, this will make the entire industrial park safer and allow Smith and Nephew to do what they've been trying to do since the 90s. And we just appreciate everybody working with us on this. And we just wanted to thank the board for listening to this again. So, and thank Doug. Thanks, Tri-State Thermal King, and the entire industrial park. So, thank you.
Okay, is there any further opposition? Is there anybody else here speaking in opposition, because it's not on the bottom of this card? Okay, okay, come on up and give us your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Charles White, and the address of my business is 3121 Sandbrook. You might not know where that's at, but in this drawing, I am located on that corner of this intersection. That's my roofing company. Been there for 28 years. One of my biggest concerns is street parking. They flipped through these so fast, I didn't get a chance to read it. Is there going to be any restrictions on street parking in front of my business, which I have done since the mid-90s? My business has been in existence since the 70s, probably the oldest roofing company that's still under the same name in this city. I have no other means of parking but on the street. When we bought the property in the mid-90s, we knew this, and we were fine with it because it's never been an issue. I'm assuming there's going to be restrictions on that based on what you're showing me, and I have a really large issue with that because basically it's going to hugely impact my business, 50 employees that I have and all of their families. Because if I have to move, I don't have the money to move. I don't have the money to be able to rebuild something. I've already inquired with the trucking company next door to see if they would allow me to buy part of their property so that I can have a way to park. They're wanting $3.8 million for their building, their property. I promise you I don't have that where I can have a parking area. So if there's restrictions on parking for this, I have a major issue. I might have to shut my business down from the 70s because I have no place to park and I have no place to go. I hope you consider this as being part of the issue. I have no problem parking on the street. I've done it for the whole time that I've been in business. But I feel like this is going to put restrictions on me that I can't survive, ultimately. That's basically my biggest concern. I still have to run my business. I've put half my life into it, and now because of someone who wants to improve what they have, they'll restrict me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other opposition? Okay, if there's no other opposition, do you have any questions of the opposition? Board members, do you have any questions? Okay, we are ready for the applicant to make your statement and give it. Your name is Mr. Dugard.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Again, my name is Doug Dugard, and I am with Smith & Nephew. I have been working on this project for my length of time at Smith & Nephew for 16 years, so do have a good understanding of history on it. I do want to address that last one with the parking. There will be no change, no impact to the parking that's there where his business is. The only restriction on parking is going to be for us on Coughlin Avenue when we close it. We will not have our employees park on the closed portion of Coughlin because we need to keep egress there for fire and emergency vehicles. So even though we might be reducing the number of access points into the park by one, we are still maintained by the conditions within the in this closure as maintaining access for emergency vehicles to come through there. Because I know that was some of the questions that were and concerns that were brought up in some of the letters that were sent in on this as opposition. And we will have gates that will be activated by both horn and siren. And then also we have 24-hour security that's there that can manually open those as well too if we need to. So again, we certainly wanted to address those concerns, but definitely no impact to the parking outside on Sandbrook or really even on Stonebrook. The one thing that is going to help us from a traffic standpoint is by us closing the back port of Coughlin, we are limiting, or we will have no access points for our trucks or our employees. The main entrance will be Coughlin. So that reduces the traffic on the backside where Thermo King is. And that was one of the conditions that we worked with them on, is placing the fence where it is and actually have two fences back there and removing the cul-de-sac again. So that way we could reduce the impact to the other businesses there. We still have shift change. We run a 24/7 operation. So if you're familiar with Smith & Nephew, we've got roughly 2,400 employees here in Memphis. We are the largest manufacturer in Memphis and Shelby County. At this location, this is our largest manufacturing site in Memphis. We have roughly 1,900 employees there. And because of the way our operations run, we have manufacturing on both sides of the street. So when we started this some 20 years ago, it was a vehicle traffic issue, because we do have a lot of traffic that's down through there, and employees have to cross back and forth because we had shared operations. So we might start production in one building and have to cross the street to the other to finish it. So again, and we have people that cross day and night. Since then, Cindy talked about how conditions have changed. It's not a vehicle issue anymore for us. It's a violent crime issue. And so with our employees walking across the street, daytime, we have issues, but nighttime obviously is even more of a concern. And we've met with Chief Davis and Assistant Chief Crow, and we've had them out to our site. We've met them with him here at City Hall to look at opportunities we can do that would just not for us, but also for the entire park to improve security. So we've got a total of 7 Sky Cops that we've purchased that are there on site, along with another 40 security cameras, along with 4 license plate readers that we purchased. 2 of those we donated to the city of Memphis. So again, we're trying to do all that we can to be a good neighbor and try to improve security, not just for us, but for the entire park. And so, and the other park members have got access, and MPD has got access to our cameras, and unfortunately it's used an awful lot over there. But the intent of this is to close Coughlin to where we have a campus environment. And that way we can pull down the fences that we have on Coughlin Avenue, so our employees can cross the street within a secure perimeter, really is what we've got there. So When you talk about the amount of security we have at the site, we have our own armed officers that are full-time Smith & Nephew employees. We have 7 of those, along with all of our contract security. So, we've got a capital investment just in security alone of over $4 million a year. So this is significant for us. And that's why we're looking at, Smith & Nephew is looking, we're going to fund the project. We're going to take care of what we need to do for the road realignment to get tractor-trailer traffic in. We want to work with the city to improve the signal flow that's there. So there's 2 traffic signals that are there, and we want to try to work with the city to add a turn lane, so staging for tractor-trailer trucks when they come into Sandbrook. We've got good flow there as well, too. And so, this is really what's the driver for us is, again, we understand how the crime in Memphis, but again, we need to do what we can to protect our employees because it is hurting our ability to recruit, to retain employees, and have to do capital investment here in Memphis. And Craig Gaffin is the president of orthopedics, and I've asked him to come today to kind of talk about that a little bit. So I'd like for him to share with you, what we're dealing with from that side of it, from our business.
Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Craig Gaffin. Address is 1959 Arden Walk Lane. I'm at 7135 Goodlett Farms, which is our other headquarters here, additional headquarters with Smith & Nephew. So as Doug mentioned, I'm president of Global Orthopedics. And, what I would say first off is, thanks for the partnership through this process. It's been a long one. I've been here for 5 years in the Memphis area, and certainly have been very aware of all this, this whole process. And I think, the partnership includes what's helpful from our standpoint, but also listening to the story, making sure small businesses can keep going and moving forward as well is really important. Doug mentioned, we have, over 2,500 employees. We have another 500 out at Goodlett Farms. This is our global orthopedic headquarters. We are close to a $6 billion company, which we do $3 billion out of this, close to $3 billion out of Memphis. We're an important part of the community, and we want to always be an important part. The value from a commercial standpoint, again, from an operational standpoint, is it is about attracting, hiring, retaining the best talent. What we make out of that facility is so vital, one, to our operations, certainly, for us to be a viable entity in this community and globally, but it's ultimately down to patients, right? And when we have struggled because of retention, because of training, because of people, we can't make these products, okay? And we get on back order, which then leads to consequences not only for our business, for people. So, all of the work that's been done, I just really greatly appreciate the time here this morning and everybody's work prior to get to this point, and hopefully we can move forward. That's in the best interest for everybody in this area. But it has a major impact on us and our ability to, and it's one of the things when I go over to Brooks, it's one of the top things always on people's minds, is how can we create a better environment? And I definitely believe that this proposal does. And it will have a big impact too on our business moving forward. So thank you so much and appreciate it.
Okay, I have one more card here, Richard Winchester. I can't tell whether they're in support or against.
I think Ms. Reed's covered everything.
I couldn't hear.
He says Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you, okay.
I'd like to ask one question, Jim. I know it's unprecedented. The gentleman from Smith & Nephew. Please. And I'll leave him.
Are we allowed to let him ask the question?
Madam Chair, I move that we have this gentleman make his comment.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a question.
If you could please come to the front podium.
And I understand you're saying that we're not going to have restrictions on parking, but I have to ask the question. There are no parking signs painted on the curbs when y'all repainted the curbs right across from my business. That's the reason I brought this up, because they had hired somebody to go in there and paint no parking on the street curb. So if you're saying that's not going to happen, then why did that no parking signs be painted? Please, I'm done, I promise.
Thank you.
And that's certainly something that we need to go back and change. That was something that was done by our safety department that was not approved by the city. So if anything, that's a fault of ours. And so I will go on the record that we will make sure that gets removed, because that was not again, it was our safety department trying to be zealous, a little overzealous with trying to make sure that they're protecting our employees and where they park. But certainly, I want us to go on the record and say, yes, sir, we'll certainly remove that. And again,
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions of the applicant? Any of the applicants? Yep, turn it on.
So, I know you guys have been working on this since 1967, and now it's just kind of became a real thing to go ahead and get it done, maybe because of the crime, of course, and I understand that. Were you experiencing crime back then as well, or?
Yes, we were. So I can give you a little bit of history on that. So when we started this in, 98. We started this in 98. Again, it was a vehicle issue. So we had crime. So again, with our own security department, we track crime within our stats. So if you look historically where we were running about 500 to 550 incidents a year that were tied to our security. Well, we put in countermeasures to help, eliminate that, or to try to minimize that as much as possible, and brought those numbers down below 200. The problem is those 200, it has been more of a violent crime nature. So where we had more, something that might have been a simple theft issue or something like that, has turned more into domestic violence. It has turned into gun crime. It has turned into auto theft. So again, that's been our history here. We've done all we could to mitigate and to bring those down. But again, the crime that we're experiencing is more, I'm going to say more personal related, more people related, and that's what the impact is, and that's what the concern is for us and what the potential is for our employees.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have one more question of the applicant. Are you amenable to these proposed conditions?
Yes, ma'am, we are. And again, I want to thank Cindy and Thermo King and others for working with us on this. This has been a long time coming, and we understand. There was a difference of opinion with us to close the road, and with others that don't want the road closed. So again, we understand that we want to try to be a good neighbor as well as they do too, and come to a good resolution to where we can put all that we can to accommodate what our neighbors are requesting and where we look like a potential impact for them, and to reduce that or minimize that as much as possible. Yes, we're on board with those conditions and work with them to get those.
Okay, thank you. Before I close the public portion of this meeting, are there any questions of the applicant and or the opposition? No questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to, at this time, close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard, and if you'd read both of them
Yes, I will.
consecutively.
I will move approval of agenda items number 1 and 2, MJR 2024-019 and SD 2023-002.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay,
I believe that's the end.
that's the last case. Are there any announcements? Mr. Penzis?
No, Madam Chair.
No announcements?